Great to have you here on the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to serve you and empower you to make better financial decisions in your life. And in today's show, as you maybe move or you want to feel more safe, maybe there's been an ugly crime in your area or your neighborhood, and you're thinking, I'm going to put in a burglar alarm. Well, I always say the purpose of a burglar alarm is it saves your life, not from a burglar, but from a fire, but I'll get to that in a second. The alarm business is one that has always been rife with people who use high commission, high pressure salespeople to get you in an ugly, ugly long-term contract. And the reality is that is hard to tell if they're the cops or the robbers when they rip you off with a burglar alarm. I want to tell you what you need to know, how you should buy one instead. And coming up later, I'm surprised about the number of problems people are having when they go to get their eyes checked. And I want to tell you what you need to know. And there's a new federal enforcement effort to deal with some of the problems people are having when they do find out, oh, you need glasses, you need contacts, whatever. And then the real ripoff starts. I want to tell you how to protect your wallet. So the burglar alarm industry is one that has been around in the U.S. since the great wave of suburbanization, and when technology really allowed burglar alarms to come on the scene, fully wired alarms, in the 1960s. And the industry's been along with us for a long, long time. Back then, the industry was clean as a whistle. It was owned by an individual or a family in your town, in your community, and you knew each other, and they'd come in after you became concerned or you had a burglary or whatever. They'd come in and they'd wire the place up, and you'd pay them. It was really labor intensive. You'd pay them for all their labor. They'd put in an alarm, and it was a noisemaker. The real problems in the industry came later with what was really an advancement, and that was remote monitoring, where you would have the alarm monitored by, at first in communities, it would ring right at the police station. Then when it became clear that somewhere close to 99% of alarms were false alarms, police departments banned being responsible for being alerted, and that's when monitoring stations got set up. And that's when things got really ugly. Because, yeah, technology changed over time. They no longer needed to wire. They no longer needed to install a hard phone line at your home or business. Everything could be wireless. But it all became about the contract for monitoring. And that's when the really, really gross practices happened with big, big, big players. In fact, one of the ugliest plays in the burglar alarm industry is where a private equity house decided, hey, this is a great way to really make big money, is cheating people on burglar alarms. And it's just a thing that started off so innocent, so for a positive purpose, and has become one that has become really dirty. And so you need to know how the game is played. Number one, when should you ever sign a 3-year contract or anything like that for a burglar alarm? Never, no exception. Never, no exception. I don't want to hear, well, they said they would give me the equipment if I signed this 3-year deal at $60 a month. Yeah, you're better off paying for equipment and paying for monitoring as you go, or if there's a really good deal to upfront pay a year's monitoring, do that and renew each year. Amazon's a big player in burglar alarms. What a surprise. And they offer a real deal on annual monitoring. I forget what it is right now, but it's really, really cheap. And Consumer Reports has recently come up with their recommended list of burglar alarm systems that you can install yourself with the contacts on the doors and the windows and maybe even a motion sensor inside, glass break sensor. And these things cost, I'm looking at the 5 recommended systems by Consumer Reports. They cost $130 to $300 total for the system to install it in your home. And as I did years ago on a YouTube video that upset Christa like nothing I can remember, my oldest brother videoed me installing a home burglar alarm. And Christa...
At the beach.
At the beach.
And you guys went to lunch in between, and you had like a...
Oh, and I'd worked out, and I was out in the sun.
You had a ratty T-shirt on and shorts,
yeah,
and your hair looked...
ripped T-shirt.
I mean, yeah.
Unshaven. I mean, I looked like the burglar, right?
You kind of did. You kind of did.
So your point was no one could even hear anything I was saying because they were like, what happened to Clark?
They're worried about you. Yes, I was.
There were posts from people worried about me. I was okay.
Yep.
I was just...
It's Beach Clark.
Beach Clark is... Beach Clark and Homeless Clark look the same as like an equal sign.
You've actually been confused as a homeless person. It happened. Somebody offered you money.
Yeah.
More than once.
Yeah.
Didn't it happen again recently?
I don't remember recently.
Okay. I thought you told me you were at the bagel shop.
No, that was a while back.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah. And that was not even at the beach.
Oh.
But I was going to work out and I was dressed really basic.
You like your $5 Cozumel T-shirts and...
$5?
What?
You horrible person. They were not $5. They're $2.80.
Sorry.
$5. Horrified.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Inflation,
anyway.
You know.
Yeah, you're inflating, making it like double the cost I spent.
Christaflation.
No, I'm 7 for $20 in the port in Cozumel. So they're my workout shirts.
Carry on, sorry.
Okay. And they're not disposable. I wear them till they literally are falling apart. And then they'll end up with holes in them all over and faded. And then somehow they disappear. I don't know what happens to them.
Now, the Amazon system, I do want to ask you real quick. You're talking about the Ring?
Ring.
Okay, I'm going to look up what the monitoring is.
Yeah, and you got Simply Safe. Simply Safe historically has had more expensive monitoring than Ring, but people like them both. Arlo now has one Consumer Reports really loves. In fact, their favorites are the Ring and the Arlo in terms of overall rating. And for someone in a small dwelling, like a townhouse condominium, apartment kind of thing, there's one called Kangaroo that Consumer Reports really likes. It's cheap. And with these, you're not in the throes of a burglar alarm company that signs you into one of these ugly long-term contracts. And yes, as someone pointed out, I bash a lot of the big companies, so it's $100 a year.
It can be as low as $50 a year.
No, that's for all your stuff with Amazon.
Yeah, the mid one is $110 a month or $100 a year.
So the alarm, the cheapest they offer is $50, and typically you're paying $100 a year for monitoring. It integrates all the various Amazon-y kind of stuff. Anyway, I got distracted, and I digress. So with the alarms, a lot of the burglar alarm companies, the professional ones, use proprietary equipment. So you're paying a fortune for their stuff and a fortune for the monthly monitoring. And they all use what's known as one of the most despicable, dishonest practices ever, automatic rollover. And what that is if you don't cancel under a very specific set of terms and conditions, may involve a registered letter, who knows what, then it automatically rolls over whatever they decide the next 3-year period will be for monitoring. So who's the bank robber now? And so you don't want, under any conditions, one of these big, heavily advertised national burglar alarm companies that are going to stick you in a completely one-sided, gross contract that also can hurt you at the time you go to sell a place. I know people aren't selling homes right now, but that'll happen again. Because then you have a liability that has to be accounted for at the closing. You may be paying a few $1,000s to pay off an obligation to a burglar alarm company. I mean, it's hideous. And it's so easy now to install your own. If I can do it, you can do it. But if you don't want to do it, go local. Go back in history. Go back to 60 years ago where you hire a local person, a small family-owned burglar alarm company, and you want to see the contract first. And if they want to do some kind of weird 3-year thing with a rollover, you say, oh, I really like you and I'd like to do business with you. I can't sign this 3-year rollover contract, but I'll do a 1-year renewable with you where I can renew each year, and you see what you work out. But do not, under any conditions, sign one of those ugly contracts. I'm sorry I went on about that so long. I just feel so bad because I can't do anything to help somebody once they've signed one of those hideous things. And I'm sure private equity has a positive role in life. Sometimes it's hard to see how for the consumer.
Constance in Missouri says, I'm a longtime follower of Clark and love and appreciate your show. I have recently married and changed my last name to my husband's. My question is about documents that need changes. I generally handle all my paperwork and taxes and know and have completed all the basics with the name change, such as license, passport, credit cards, bank accounts, medical insurance, etc.
Already done all that.
Yep. I created a whole kit for a will, revocable trust, power of attorney, etc. in 2007 in my maiden name. I live in St. Louis, Missouri. I think I need to change the kit to reflect my new name, and I'm hoping I can do this without an attorney since, like I said, I set the whole thing up. I know how to change my beneficiary to my husband, but I just don't know the process for changing my name on these particular documents. I don't trust Google for such important docs, LOL.
Okay.
Congratulations.
So, yes, that's absolutely congratulations. And you're obviously a motivated self-starter. You've done all the primary stuff in terms of getting the name changed over. And it's really easy at time of marriage. It's much harder if you decide later, nah, I really don't want to keep my last name. I want his last name. Then it gets hard. So you did it at the easy button time. So, Will, today you would not want to do a kit. You'd want to do software. My favorite for you to update this, and you absolutely want to update it now that you've had a change in marital status, is I like WillMaker. They are the best out there. They've been at it the longest. It's good, easy software to use. If your situation is not complicated, there's no kids involved coming in. If you didn't marry someone who brought kids in the marriage, and you have a simple situation, you don't own your own business, you don't have tons of assets, all that, go ahead and take a stab at it using WillMaker, and you'll be able to develop a will that will be up to date and will recognize that you are now in this marriage. And your husband should have one as well, if he doesn't have a will. And I brought a lot of caveats in there. If you have complicated family situation, for example, if you ended up with stepchildren in this, you own your own business, either or both of you have a lot of assets, then you go see a lawyer who specializes in wills and do what your instinct is not. Hire a professional to do the will. But a simple situation that truly is simple, using WillMaker should be great.
And then you mentioned power of attorney, and then you want to have a medical power of attorney as well.
All right, so you live in Missouri. Missouri, like most states, I don't know if they do, but historically states will have their own form you do for medical care. And it'll be a state standard form that you fill out outside a hospital. You may not need witnesses for it. In a hospital, in most states, usually you do need witnesses, although there could be a state where it's the opposite, where you need witnesses. But the form is very self-explanatory. Power of attorney documents, you'll see how to do that in the NOLO stuff that you get with Willmaker.
Revocable trust?
Revocable trusts, that's a complicated area. If you want to get into revocable trusts, that is when you want a lawyer who does wills, estates, and trusts.
Okay. Robbie in Texas says, thank you for all that you do to educate consumers like me. At your urging, I requested a credit freeze at all 3 bureaus a few years ago. I recently logged into all 3 to verify that the freeze was still active to check my credit. I was surprised at how many entities still have access to my credit info despite the freeze. On my TransUnion account, I discovered that Wallethub checks my credit every day. I have never signed up for Wallethub, so I wrote to them and was told the only way I can get this stopped is to actually sign up and give them all my personal info in order to verify my identity. How can this happen despite a credit freeze? Should I relent and sign up for this service just to get it stopped or leave it alone?
So, Robbie, what has happened over the years is there's been a lot of entities that have merged out of existence, been bought by one entity to another, and Wallethub over the years has acquired a number.
It used to be CardHub.
CardHub, yeah. So at some point you were signed up with something. CardHub was very popular in its day.
And Wallethub is popular. They do check your credit every day through TransUnion. It is a legitimate company.
Totally legitimate. It's kind of like, when I talk about Credit Karma, there's with your credit frozen, there's not a harm that I would be freaked out about. I would use the information available from Wallethub. But if you do want them out of your life, you're going to have to, believe it or not, you're going to have to thaw your TransUnion credit report, set up your own Wallethub portal, and then turn around and shut down and have them erase what they have on you, and then your credit, you have it go back frozen. So when you thaw it with TransUnion, you thaw it for like a day. You set up the Wallethub thing. Once it's set up, you then terminate it, and then they won't be tracking you anymore. But the information they have is useful to you to get a constant pulse, a checkup on how your financial health is going.
You may not have to unfreeze it since they already have you as a registered person with your Social Security number.
But the thing is, they've got it through probably somebody they acquired. They're not showing an account for him. That's why under his social, he'd have to set it up and terminate it. And hopefully it would end the tracking. As for all the people tracking you, anybody you have an existing relationship with, credit card, bank, anything like that, they have access to see your credit file. And every credit card, I think, known to humankind, checks your credit every month. Some check it a lot more than that.
David in Kentucky says, after about 4 years with one vehicle, I felt it was time to get a new one. So I went to my credit union and applied with them. They have been servicing my current loan while I had exceptional credit, an 800 plus score. So I felt that I was good to be approved. However, it seems as if my debt to income ratio was too high and I would need a cosigner for approval. My question is, do lenders put more emphasis on DTI or the credit score?
So for credit cards, they're looking specifically at the amount of your available credit you're using, and as long as that ratio is low enough, they don't even care what your overall debt obligations are. When it comes to an installment loan, a mortgage, a car loan, a home equity loan, not a line of credit, they are looking at your commitments you already have in place. So on something like an auto loan delinquencies have been rising at a really rapid rate. So lenders are much more skittish about approving vehicle loans than they were in the past. And so the fact is that your debt to income ratio freaked them out. Whatever your total debt obligations are was beyond their comfort zone. I'm surprised they didn't say to you, hey, can you put more down payment down? Because what the lenders, credit unions, and banks are freaked out about right now is that people are going to default on their vehicle loan, new or used. And if you can give more money down at time of purchase, then they relax, or you make your loan term shorter, they'll relax, and they'll let you go forward with it. But if they're telling you, under the conditions you saw it, that the only way you can take out a loan is by having a cosigner, that says to me, maybe you do need to hear them. Maybe you are carrying more debt versus your income than is comfortable, and maybe that 4-year-old vehicle you should keep driving. Just a thought. Coming up ahead, yeah, call me Four Eyes. Call me that if you want. I've been wearing glasses since before I could read. I mean, I learned to read when I was 61. No, when I was a little teeny kid before school, I had to wear glasses. And so I've lived my life wearing glasses. And I know a lot about them, but there's some stuff that you need to know that will help your wallet. There's been a problem where people reportedly are having trouble after they get their eyes examined getting their prescription. And that's because there's been a reorientation of the industry for eyeglasses in trying to get you there for the exam and then do that as like a loss leader where they charge you maybe even below their cost for the eye exam to then be able to fill that script for you that they have now determined from your eye exam. And the whole idea is to keep you a captive and get you to spend far, far, far more on your eyeglasses or contacts than you need to. And this is a problem that's existed for a long time. It's just magnified because of changes in ownership and so many of the eyeglass places being now in a much smaller number of hands, most of which are not American owned. Not that that's why it suddenly became bad, but this is something that you need to know your rights. When you have your eyes checked by an optometrist, an optometrist, ophthalmologist who does your eye exam, they're required to give you your written prescription. You can also get it in a digital form, and what you want is actually both. You want the written piece of paper, you want the digital prescription that is emailed to you. And the reason this is important is the quality and price differences from one place to another are so very large. Like many other consumer products and services we buy, the price gap has gotten a lot larger. And it's important for you to know that and know who is doing the best job for you in terms of quality and cost combination. And we last month just updated our review on Clark.com of the best places to get glasses. And not because we have a dog named Kirkland Signature. Costco, absolutely number one for the best place for quality and customer service and price. I mean, they're not the cheapest, but the combination of the three, they are absolutely great. And you know who else that in our research we found to be fantastic? Warby Parker. Warby Parker that has both online and physical stores does a very, very good job in the quality and the prices. And somebody who's moved up in our rankings based on our mix about how we've analyzed them in our Team Clark review, where we take the experience of price and service together, Sam's Club Optical is now there. Now, Sam's Club, a total pair of frames, lenses, complete, starts off cheaper than Costco. And you should know that a price is really important to you. But nobody is as cheap of any of the big players in the whole country as Zenni. Zenni, on a customer service basis, I'd put them way down the list. But on price, it really is true, including shipping. You can get an entire pair of prescription glasses, including delivery, frames, lenses complete, under $15. I mean, that's crazy when you figure that it's not all unusual for a typical person for a basic pair of glasses, if they go to one of the big foreign-owned places, you don't even know we're foreign-owned, to be $400 to $600 for a pair of glasses. You can buy at Zenni for $15, Sam's for about $60, Costco or Warby Parker about $100. So it's your money. And remember, you went to see a medical professional to have an eye exam. And that's all you have to do with them. And they have to. They don't want to. They have to, by law, give you that script. And then you're a free agent to go where you want. And if you go read our full article on how you go about navigating buying eyeglasses, I think it'll be really helpful to you in being a Four Eyes. The pair I'm wearing right now, where'd these come from?
Are those, well, did you have to do Costco so you have anti-glare, or are those not anti-glare?
These are anti-glare, and they are, can you read with your eyes?
I can't, because now I can't read. I'm like farsighted now. What is it?
So you need to have your eyes tested?
No, I wear readers.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, no, I can't. What is it?
They're Kirkland signatures.
Oh, they are. See, Costco, I was right.
Yeah.
Kirkland signature.
So.
I bought, when I wore glasses before I had LASIK, and I was very nearsighted. I got mine from Zenni, but my eye doctor, I looked at a pair of frames I liked at the time, and I think it was going to be $800 for the glasses with the lenses. I was like, nope.
So if you are into fashion like Christa, I don't have a fashion bone in my body, obviously, but if you are into fashion like Christa, Warby Parker to me is the perfect mix of having style and price in combination.
Yes, and Costco does have they have a variety of frames in different
So
prices.
you don't agree with the comedian that people who buy anything that would be considered to be fashion, like clothing or anything like that, means they just don't care what they look like anymore if they buy them at Costco?
No, they have some
You
very
ever
nice
seen that
lenses.
comedian routine?
No.
Oh, it's funny.
I have seen a thing, though, saying the founders of Costco were, like, on something, and they were like, it's going to have eyeglasses and hot dogs when they're coming up with the concept. Brian in
And higher membership fees now.
Yeah. Brian in North Carolina says, my 15-year-old teenage son is very interested in becoming a commercial airline pilot. We did the Young Eagle program for a test flight, and he loved it. Are there any recommended schools or training centers that offer comprehensive programs for aspiring young pilots? Additionally, what advice do you have for parents supporting their children through this process?
So, Brian,
He knows that Grant is becoming a pilot.
My regrets for you and your wallet. If your son decides he wants to be a professional pilot and he doesn't want to go in the military, you're going to face numbers that normal earthlings cannot even fathom, because pilot training is very expensive. So there's obviously the path most people take, and not at all uncommon for a 15-year-old, is they want to be a private pilot. And I'll tell you, your 15-year-old, if your son is like my son, who's now 18, he's a much better pilot than he is a driver of a car. Oh, man. Anyway.
Could he do ROTC to test out the military waters in high school?
JROTC.
Is that what it is? I don't know.
JROTC.
Okay.
Yeah, so that, Brian, if there's a JROTC chapter, that would be a great thing to do, because I'm thinking about the money, which is, you're talking 6 zeros, mid 6 zeros to really progress as a pilot. But to become a private pilot, what's going to happen is there are going to be different flight schools that become familiar with these terms. There's Part 61, there's Part 141. 61 is for private pilots, and it's a less expensive kind of way to do it. The flight schools, you want to know the age of the aircraft they have, how many aircraft they have, how many are in active use. You want to talk to other people that are flight students. And if there's any organization around the private airport that's near you, that's for aspiring pilots or for pilots where they get together once a month or whatever, a lot of it's gossip. You're going to learn a lot of stuff about various flight schools, because in metro areas, there will be, at a decent-sized private airport, there may be 3 or 4 private pilot training schools at that airport. And you want to know, what's the reputation that you learn by word of mouth of the aircraft, the program, the pilots. And you want a realistic picture. What's it going to cost to go from that to having a PPL, a private pilot's license? What's that whole path going to cost for training aircraft and the rest? And a big thing for your 15-year-old son, a lot of teenagers run out of gas, not figuratively, literally, figuratively, on what's known as ground school, because it's pretty dull. A lot of things you've got to memorize and learn and study. And if your son's really serious, you want a lot of ground school front-loaded before you spend a lot of money in the cockpit for them flying. If, in fact, though, he wants to become a professional pilot, which is the path my son's on, flying for an airline, a charter, whatever, that's a whole different set of zeros of money. And what I recommend is that a teenager get the PPL you can get at age 17, and then decide from there if you want to become a professional pilot. And then if your son does want to become a professional pilot, go all over the country looking at Part 141 flight schools, maybe attached to a university, maybe just flight alone, because you don't have to have a bachelor's degree anymore to fly for most airlines.
And there may be a state school that offers it as well.
That could be cheaper.
Rosemary in South Carolina says, Clark, I've always wanted to see America's Cup and have followed as long as I have been following you. Now it's in Barcelona, Spain in October, and I need your guidance and wisdom, as you have never disappointed and have actually saved us a lot of money. Any tips on what to do and where to stay and how easy it is to get around? We will try to stay down by the American stands, but we want to see the city as well. Thank you ever so much for anything you can relate.
So, Rosemary, first thing, Barcelona's in a backlash against tourists. Whatever you can do to look like you're not a tourist while you're there for it, do it. They've been shooting water cannons at tourists.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gosh, I love Barcelona, but
I know Barcelona's
Wow.
so great, but they don't think we're so great as tourists right now. I think they've been over-touristed, like Venice and Rome and other places, and all over Greece. They're like, yeah, too much of a good thing. So low profile, be as polite to everybody as you can, and do not, if you care about your wallet, do not stay close to the hotels near the viewpoint. The public transit subway system is great in Barcelona. It means you can stay in a nicer hotel, cheaper, a short metro ride, or whatever they call the subway, from where all the stuff's going to be going on with the America's Cup. So that's what I would think about. And it was much more sensitive years ago if you speak some broken Spanish and you spoke to somebody in Spanish because of the Catalan, is that how you say it? Catalan independence movement. They did not like it when a stranger, a tourist, would start speaking in broken Spanish. That's not as much of an issue now. And it is a wonderful, great city that just being on foot in that city, everywhere you turn, is a great experience.
Gonzalo in California says, I'm interested in funding an IUL after contributing to my 401k, up to my 401k match. What are your thoughts? Should I dive into this option or should I continue to max out my Roth IRA? Take a deep breath. IUL stands for Indexed Universal Life Insurance Policy. I'm just giving you a second.
Taking
Okay.
4 deep breaths.
Yep, good.
Okay. So, who benefits from an indexed universal life insurance or any form of variable universal life, blah, blah, blah? The only beneficiary is the salesperson and the insurance company that sells it. These are atrocious products with very high embedded commissions and a deck stacked completely against you. The tax advantages pitched are a big, fat lie. How do I really think?
Tell us how you feel, Clark.
I held back. That's why I took the 4 deep breaths. So, no, Gonzalo. I don't care how good a friend was pitching you on Index Universal Life. Go hang out with them. Go have laughs. Do not buy insurance from this individual under any circumstances. If you need life insurance to protect your family or loved ones, buy a level term insurance policy. And don't even talk to your friend. They don't want to sell it. They won't make any money from it. Really easy to buy. Got a guide how to buy it on Clark.com. For investments, completely Roth. I am the man from Roth. It is the greatest tool ever. You pop in up to the max of the Roth each year. That money grows tax-free over the years. You do it over a working lifetime, you will be incredibly comfortable. You do a Roth not at a bank, not with any bank-based brokerage, not with any insurance company. You do a Roth with a low-cost provider, period. It could be Betterment, Wealthfront, Schwab, Vanguard, Fidelity, or a smaller player that is a low-cost provider, period. Index Universal Life has no role in anybody's life that I have ever been convinced of, ever, not ever.
That's true, Clark Howard, sacrilege to take money you might have used to max out your Roth and buy IUL policy.
By any kind of universal life.
I mean, that's
anything.
Like worse than even, just to take money from you would.
You know what that would be like? I'll tell you what that would be like.
What?
You got a discount store right here. You have a Walgreens here, and you have a CVS here. And so you could go to the discount store, or you could go pay more than something would cost 20 years from now at Walgreens or CVS.
For Saks Fifth Avenue versus Marshalls.
Well, but that
Target.
I can't do as a comparison because in the CVS and Walgreens thing, you're buying the same bag of Cheetos or whatever it is at either of them, or an over-the-counter med or whatever, as you're buying at the discount store. You're just paying like the 2060 price or 2045 price or whatever. That's what you're doing when you buy one of these crazy cockamamie, universal lifey anythings. Remember, they only advantage the insurance company and the salesperson and never, ever the consumer who is sold one of those.
And Gonzalo, your friend may not even know that he's selling something. He or she is selling something bad.
Well, we're supposing that it's a friend.
Right, or whoever it is. They may...
A friendly person who may be really fun to be with and all that. But are you paying to buy fun? Hope not. So that's why the best fun you can have is financial independence through fully funding your Roth IRA with a low-cost provider. Got a little fired up about that.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you. Now I need to go do some yoga.
Yes, you do.
do some positive affirmations.
Yes,
Anyway,
and July on a happy note.
yeah. Oh, that's right. It's August tomorrow. Yeah. So eventually it won't be as hot. But, we're out of the wobble. So the days are going to get a little shorter each day now. We went through our 60 days, pretty much the same amount of daylight every day. So you love fall, right? I love spring.
I love all the seasons for different reasons. I love summer. I have to say, I love the light. Love taking walks late. I love it.
And this is funny because Christa and I were arguing about this the other day, not on the podcast. So in so much of the country now, when does school start?
I thought it was mostly like September in most places, or late August.
Well, that's because you grew up in the
late
Northeast.
August, yes.
Yeah. So now most school kids in the United States start school around the 1st of August.
Wow.
And they still start on the West Coast. Schools very heavily start in right after Labor Day. And in the Northeast and New England, they very heavily start there. But the overwhelming percent of school kids now starting school right now.
Wow. Sorry, kids.
So summer starts earlier for them, in May, even it's not really summer. And school starts when technically we have 7 more weeks of summer till September 21st. Yeah. Do you think anybody cares about any of this we're talking about?
This has been the longest podcast for a very long time.
In months and months.
This is really long. If you're walking, I hope you got some extra mileage in.
Yeah, if somebody's on an elliptical or they're on a treadmill, they're like, wait a minute. I time how long I'm on this thing by how long you run your mouth, Clark.
Sorry.
What's wrong with your mouth today? You're talking too long. We're having a fun day, though.
It is. It's been a really fun day.
Yeah. So we'll have more fun for you tomorrow. Remember, what we're devoted to is you learning ways to save more and spend less and avoid getting ripped off.
Tomorrow you're starting off on a very positive note. We have a story about how you can live longer by doing something that costs nothing.
Which is really great. Free longer life.